I see some talk on the Hawks going on. I mean, I know they
Mm.
lost to the Celtics. And those questions on John Collins. In general, I have questions on them. So let's kind of direct our attention to the Hawks, and you can go from the fantasy side here and kind of get kind of where they're going. I mean, between Trae Young, between John Collins, where he has been, where he's going to be. But like even on the more holistic like NBA side, it is weird to kind of see, okay, he didn't get that extension. Are the Hawks going to keep him through the rest of the year? Are they going to try to move him? Because although he's injured, you still have Onyeka Okongwu waiting. You still have
Mhm.
other guys that are going to get more minutes, in that vein. So kind of where is his future? And not only just on the Hawks, but I guess with different trade targets. Kind of what we thinking about the Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just as surprised by John Collins as anybody, but it feels like maybe Atlanta kind of maybe knew something that we didn't by not
Had
giving him
to.
that extension. Uh, because based off talent alone, it seemed like it was a no-brainer. And when they didn't give it to him, and they brought in Capella and they drafted a center, it's like, wait a minute, is there something? What's going on?
Right? What's going on?
That it's what, honestly, when it came fantasy draft time, I still drafted with like thinking Collins was going to be awesome and advise people that way. But in hindsight, it's looking like maybe we should have seen something was going on there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get traded at all, especially with the depth they have at center. Um, and these guys coming back, the fact they went out and got Gallo too. I mean, it made no sense at the time when you have a guy like Collins, but now maybe they saw something in practice. Maybe he just wasn't picking up the playbook. I mean, who knows? Because I mean, he's got all the gifts in the world athletically. Some guys it just doesn't click, and a lot of times a change of scenery though will take care of that. He's one of those guys I could easily see get brought over to another team with a different system of coaches and just become an all-star.
Yeah.
He's got that type of talent. So yeah, I think he needs to go. Otherwise, I'm super excited about the Hawks. They're young, they're exciting. Trae Young it seems like he's finally getting into a little bit of a groove. It was a little bit of a rough start, but those young guys they have, the way Hunter has developed, a lot of people had lost track of Hunter and didn't think he was going to turn into anything, but his shots really developed.
Yeah.
Cam Reddish is starting to look like a legit player.
Sure.
Herder's an exciting young guy who's still a little bit inconsistent, and it's frustrating from a fantasy perspective. But they're set up for the modern NBA. I mean, they got wings upon wings upon wings. They got the sharpshooting assist master point guard. They got the rim running shot blocker center in two of them now with Ngongwu, because he looks like he could be a Capella type. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Collins go at all and help boost up that core that they have. I'd hate to see him go for nothing. So I think they'll try to get something.
And I mean, they do shooting 50% from the field, 40 from three, 86 from the line. He had a dud today. Like, if we're looking at the Hawks versus Celtics today, Celtics won 121-109. I guess the questions around John Collins were more concerning because he just had a bad game in my mind, but like, it still was a bad game. 30 minutes, 8 points on 3 of 13, took 3 threes, didn't make any, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, like just a dud. But I mean, those do happen.
It happens.
Not my fantasy perspective here, but like, it's going to happen. The guy's been pretty solid all year. I mean, he's coming off of a game 2 days ago against the Celtics where he had 20 points and 6 rebounds on 6 of 9 shooting. The game before that, 19 points at 8 of 14 shooting. So it happens, like, but in general, I mean, he's like you said, like the perfect kind of front court guy. Yeah. I really wish I think that, there may have been some personality issues. I don't know. Obviously, Trae Young seems to be a prickly guy to play with, although he's talented. Yeah. He just kind of rubs off that way. We've seen the kind of tantrum, kind of pouting he's done on the court, as far as not shooting or whatever the case may be after games. So it's kind of weird. But like, if you have a tandem like that, at least offensively, I mean, I want to put like some base comparison like Nash and Mari, but you have a guy in Collins who plays above the rim, great pick and pop partner. It can take up that gravity both vertically, like both sides. And you have a guy like Trae Young who's really stretching defenses from like 35 feet. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Okongwu, Clint Capella, those guys are good in their own way, but they don't replicate what Collins brings to the table. And so for me, that's where it's like, okay, I get it. And if there's real issues, that makes sense. But if not, you're getting a guy in Collins who's uniquely talented and you're going to just give him up. yes, for two good guys, but they don't have that same skill set. And some of that is valuable. We're going to have potential spacing issues, especially if Gallinari, because he can't play defense as, let's just say reliably,
Yeah.
like you're going to have issues in terms of the composition of the team when it is crunch time and having that balance of offense and defense. And so I don't know. I mean, I worry about that because I mean I'm gonna be excited to see where Collins ends up. Maybe the Hawks change their mind. I doubt it, but I mean it's so weird, And it going into the season, I wasn't as high on the Hawks as everyone else was, but I saw okay, you bring in some solid vet pieces. You have some young guys. You bet on them to step up. You still have Collins. You still have Trae Young. Boom, and almost instantly between that. Not offering the extension, not agreeing to terms and injuries, and the Hawks are still talented enough that
The
they're
rumors
there.
about Collins and Trey and
Yeah,
button heads.
beef in there. Exactly. And so you have this kind of dissension that you really don't need because the vets who can play haven't been out. Of course, Bogdanovich being out for a while has obviously been impactful.
Yep.
You've had slippage from some players. Rajon Rondo, when he has played, has been, and all of that comes into play. And yeah, the Hawks are still, I mean, not trash. They're still in the thick of it. But obviously, I think it's clear to say that they are, not meeting expectations.
For sure. And it's not even to say that Collins has been bad. I mean, he's been a really good player.
Exactly.
The expectations for him were just so high, especially from a fantasy perspective coming into this season, that it's been a little bit of a letdown. Just these kind of dud games that he'll have. I mean, we were expecting 30 points, 15 rebounds, 3 block, 3 type of games, and he just hasn't been there. And otherwise, I love what the Hawks are building, and I'd be super excited to be an Atlanta fan right now. It does feel a little bit like when Golden State was starting to turn that corner, having those pieces, and who knows, but I think a change has to happen probably for both Collins and the Hawks. It's a shame to see him lose that guy because I have a feeling a year or two from now, we're going to be like, man, remember when Collins was on the Hawks?
Yeah.
Kind of like when Harden, we look back and we're like,
The
remember
Thunder,
when Harden was
OKC.
on OKC?
2012,
Yeah.
Harden, Durant, Westbrook, and what could have been. It's going to be one of those.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you because I do think these guys are just so good that they're going to find success. It's going to be different and maybe varying degrees of that, as we've seen with the Thunder. That's a great point. Yeah.
Not that he's going to be like, a Harden, but,
no.
I think he definitely could be, borderline all-star type of player, especially in the modern NBA. A big who can block shots and stretch the floor. I mean, that's a point guard like Trey are the money positions, and Atlanta has both, and they're going to lose it. It's
For sure.
It's super frustrating.
It is.